Kupreanof, it's a small little town. If we want to go over to the city, we go into Petersburg, so that's big enough for us. Then you can always go up to Juneau or Sitka, and that gets a little bigger. And then if you really want to do it, you can go down south, you know, get in a couple of traffic jams, and then you go, let's go home.
Kupreanof is Alaska's smallest second-class city. It's located just across Wrangell Narrows from Petersburg. The 24 residents use boats instead of cars. Dick and Sharon Sprague have been living on Kupreanof since 1975 and raised their 4 children there.
They all called it Alcatraz West when they grew up. And then when they left home and went south and went to school and then came back, they've all wanted to live right out the way we are right now. So Alcatraz West turned into their dream.
The dream for the Sprague family sits on a small island at one end of the Kupreanof city limits. Their location is a garden of delights.
I have zucchini, the variegated, and the yellow gold rush. And this is the cauliflower, carrots, tomatoes, lettuce, red cabbage, and beets.
In addition to the garden's bounty, the Spragues raise chickens and ducks and gather other food from the forest and the sea. They also experiment with grafting apple trees, raising tomatoes, and an apricot tree.
We planted about 2 years ago, and we're hoping to get some apricots on it. And this plant over here on this side is a kiwi vine, and we haven't got anything on it yet.
Each Kupreanof family provides their own electricity. The Spragues have built their own hydropower system. Most residents, like Harold and Ethel Bergman, use generators. They've been living on Kupreanof since Alaska statehood, and theirs is a home with pets, including Pedro the evil rooster, Gladys the goat, cats, a dog, a goose and a gander, and then there's Elroy.
Have a potato. Low enough? Isn't he eating it now? Now, he doesn't ordinarily spill any off of the fork.
Elroy is a Vietnamese pot-bellied pig, one of 8,000 such pet pigs in the U.S. He has the run of the Bergman house.
I like a son, sort of. Oh, now you'd have to be an animal person to know what I mean. I'm not speaking. I'm not trying to make him a human being in any way at all. He's just a pig, and he makes me smile, and he makes Harold smile.
Harold Bergman hosts a popular Saturday morning radio show on public station KFSK in Petersburg. He makes local residents smile, and sometimes more, when he mixes political comments with birthdays, offbeat music, and updates on his Kupreanof neighbors.
Deb Hurley and her husband and her mother and father are here from Belize. And as I told Ethel earlier, if you didn't catch it earlier, Ethel, they're coming over tomorrow for an 8-course dinner. So you better be ready. And Deb has got an awful cold, I understand, but she can sit outside while we entertain her mother and father. So, well, that's it. That's the news from Kupreanof. And it's 11 minutes after 11 o'clock.
Like everyone else, Harold commutes by boat. In the winter, ice from the creek poses some problems, but usually the trip is no more difficult than driving to work from any other suburb.
Out of all the days of school, 20 years of going back and forth, like I say, I probably missed maybe a half-day morning or something like that, but otherwise, no.
The Bergmans, the Spragues, Carrie Mater, and a couple of dozen others in Kupreanof govern their town on a pretty personal level. Almost a third of the residents, for example, are on the city council.
We usually do bring in things to eat, so we all eat together, and that breaks down a lot of animosities. Just get them around the table.
Residents of Kupreanof have had a formal government since 1974, when they organized into a second-class city, in part to head off efforts by Petersburg to annex them.
I think the philosophy of the community is to keep our area in as natural a state as we possibly can, the way it is, status quo, uncut, unchanged.
The prevailing governmental philosophy could change in Kupreanof if new residents moved in, but that would require finding an owner who wanted to sell. The city does own 180 acres that it holds as a revenue base, and they look out for their future by investing state revenue sharing funds.
We have a permanent fund modeled after Sitka's permanent fund model, and it's been very, very good, and we have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 70,000 put away, and it draws interest all the time, and that will keep us going when the oil revenues are no longer available.
Government expenses are few in Kupreanof, where volunteers do most of the work. Likewise, city rules and regulations are also few. The local government does provide planning and zoning, police, and fire protection services.
The only thing that we do is furnish every household with smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, stack thermometers. That is our preventive measures for fire protection. Other than that, everyone is on their own.
I would think the regulation that I most abide by is kind of watching out for my neighbor, and that's the regulation I go by, not to irritate them and see that they don't irritate me. That's the main regulation.
The biggest issue facing Kupreanof residents in recent years has been a Forest Service claim to an old roadbed that ran behind the beach line.
And the city was very torn about that. It took us 8 years in the courts to finally get a settlement on that. And in the long run, it was very controversial, and it ended up as a compromise where there would be a 6-foot trail in the place of the road. So we do have a trail where we would have liked to have seen nothing. So that was the compromise.
The Kupreanof lifestyle may appeal to many. Commuting by boat, living off the land gardens, wilderness homes, small town friendliness. Apparently, summertime visitors viewing Kupreanof from nearby fishing boats feel that way too.
It's sitting here and watching the boats go by. And when they turn around, they come back and they're taking pictures of this little funky cabin on the creek. It must be idyllic to some of these people who spend probably thousands of dollars to come up to Alaska and go fishing and do all that stuff. And here's this little, their picture of what it's like. There it is. That's what I thought it would look like, And so you can see it in their faces with that, But I hate to go out there and say, come here about the middle of winter and see the 3-foot thick ice floes that take out your boat. It's a little different. But in a sunny day, there's no place better.
No better place is a nice way to feel about your southeast home, wherever it's located and whatever its size. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Rain Country, and hopefully you'll feel there's no better place to be at this same time. I'm Scott Foster. Have a good day.